Welcome everybody to Trash Cinema. I'm your host Michael, my co-host
Here's Jacob.
Jacob. Last week we tortured ourselves with Street Fighter, which made us pretty.
Uh,
It was shitty, but not like a terrible shitty. And then we
Street
went.
Fighter was.
Yeah, I mean it was an okay shitty. It was like, oh well, at least things are happening and there's at least a budget. Then we discussed Mortal Kombat, which you still
Oh,
love.
I
I think
still
it's
love.
kind of aged a little bit. Like some stuff doesn't hold up. But this week we dive deep into doo doo. We discuss Super Mario Brothers and Double Dragon, which caused quite a bit of pain. Yes, so we're gonna grin, bear it, and pass it
I know.
out. Now
It doesn't matter.
I would ask Jacob which one he would prefer to discuss first, but it's like being asked, hey, would you prefer to be pooped on or peed on first? And I fit a lot of bathroom humor there. I fit a lot in.
Yeah.
I think we met our quota for the month. I think we're good.
Either way, I'll be covered in someone's entrails. It's horrible.
Oh.
Ugh.
All right. So the
I
first
don't know.
one, let's just go with Super Mario Brothers. It was the one that was made first. The first big budget video game movie. You could say Tron is a video game movie. It is, but it's not based.
Wasn't
on a video
based on a
game.
video game.
No. I mean, there's a few
No.
movies like that, like Arcade and that one entry of Nightmares where Emilio Estevez is taking on the Bishop of Battle. But
Oh yeah.
this is the first movie to be based on a video game, and wow, did they fuck it up? They set a trend for the rest of time up until this moment for video game movies to be shit. There's so very few that you can even sit through. I can't even say a single one of them is great. Even Tomb Raider, as entertaining as it is, it's still highly entertaining trash.
It is. It is. It was complete trash. I mean, it was Angelina Jolie. She was sexy. She was beautiful. She captured the character well. But other than that, it was shit. I don't really care for the first one.
Silent Hill, I've heard Silent Hill is good. I've never seen it.
It's not that.
No, they cannot seem to get it together for a good video game. Even Prince of Persia, everybody's like, oh my god, this thing costs like $130 million. It's from Disney. It's got a great director. It's got Jake Gyllenhaal. Nope, boring, emotionally disconnected,
still
boring
sucked.
crap. Yeah. So
And he was white. Main character's whitewashed.
yeah,
That was
what
another
up
huge
with
thing.
that?
That was so stupid.
All right, but here we go. This is where it all began, where a studio picked up a license and basically pooped out something that I did again. Wow, I think I've gone over. I might get fined. Gone overboard in the opposite direction of what it should be, and now because of this, Nintendo has never made another movie. Which Link of all characters from Nintendo deserves to have a movie made.
That he does. Plus, he never talks. He never actually talks, which should add more mystery to the character.
Link has never talked, really.
No, he just goes, hey, 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 he just makes fighting noises, but that's it. And also, I mean, Super Mario Brothers. I mean, as great casting as it was, I love Bob Hoskins as Mario. I thought he was perfect. And John Leguizamo was pretty good too.
He was drunk during filming of this. Am I wrong?
Was he?
I've read rumors that he was so miserable during production that he decided to start drinking and would show up to work intoxicated.
Oh, so he could be an angry New Yorker and really capture the essence of rage.
Something like that.
Well, how they started off in New York, yeah. I thought it was like kind of a good backstory, but like when going into the actual Mushroom Kingdom, what?
The movie is
Well,
very,
visually,
very confusing because everything that I expect out of it never happens, and I'm just like, where is my Mario moment? Is this even a Mario Brothers movie, or is this what I thought it was? Was it was a script for something else? They said, well, this kind of could fit, and then they just put it over there. Now, here's the thing that bothers me is that it's from the creators of Max Headroom, which is such a great, unique view of the future. And I think maybe they got the license for Super Mario Brothers and said, hey, we're going to put our own spin on it instead of trying to stay with the original source.
right. But I mean, their own spin on it was kind of like this grungy, disgusting, fungus-fueled underground, like kind of cyberpunk city.
Yeah, I mean, is it supposed to be a combination of Blade Runner with pipes? Because, Mario Brothers was a very bright, shiny, fun, open world kind of game. And then you're like watching the movie going, where, what, huh?
I know. I'm not seeing. You kind of see how they worked in, like, going through tunnels to get to the parallel, this parallel dimension. plus, I mean, Mario wasn't really about dinosaurs. It's like, yes, like Bowser and King Koopa and all those other
Yoshi.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yoshi. I mean, yeah, they look like they are reptilian. They do have reptilian origins, but they weren't directly dinosaurs. No. And there was no Princess Peach. There was Princess Daisy, who was, Luigi's love interest, and only just a character who would appear from time to time throughout the games.
You ever think that Luigi
And
gets pissed that Mario gets all the attention?
yeah, so I guess they wanted to give Luigi some more attention rather than,
Yeah, but I can't believe
Mario
his
being
name
all
is
the hero.
Mario Mario. What was his mother like, small brained or something?
I
Mario
don't know.
Mario. So
That was pretty weird. It's like they are the Mario brothers, so it's like Mario is supposed to be their last name, but throughout the game, it's just I don't even think they had I don't even think they had full names in the video games at all. They were just Luigi or Mario. That's
yeah,
it.
I
Because
thought
it never took place.
why is it Mario Mario? Why isn't I don't know. You know what? Forget it. That's a discussion maybe for the people.
It was a
who
confusing
created
and stupid discussion.
Yeah.
I thought, Mario's girlfriend in New York in like the real world. I thought her name was Pauline, because Pauline was Mario's first girlfriend in Donkey Kong in his first appearance. So I thought they were doing something like that,
Huh.
some kind of tribute. And I noticed one of the guys that was Koopa's cousin, so one of his henchmen, Fisher Stevens.
Oh, yeah.
He was Iggy.
Yeah, and
He was
Richard Edson
Iggy.
is his partner. Those guys killed me. Those guys are actually pretty funny. I like them.
Oh yeah, no, especially Fisher Stevens.
I mean,
So
I
they were
like
pretty
the
ridiculous.
cast. Everybody in the cast is pretty well. Either they're well cast or they're just likable actors, but it's not their fault. They do everything they can. It's the script. The script makes no sense.
The script and the studios and the directors, they just really mash it up.
You think?
Like, well, it works, so let's do it.
Yeah. So it's created by Shigeru Miyamoto. Do you think do you think his reaction was when he saw this? Going, this is a Mario Brothers movie? No, this isn't even close.
He was probably, he probably wasn't silent once the movie was over, because a Japanese audience, after they're done seeing a movie, silence is the best thing they give them. That's like their greatest form of respect. It's like, oh my gosh. But I don't see how, like certain movies, how they can stay silent, because how can you not talk about or just express your joy?
Yeah.
They'd probably wait till after they're done, like outside the theater, and then they discuss it.
So the voice of Yoshi, you know how we said we do another podcast called Back in Tunes. The voice of Yoshi is done by Frank Welker. Frank Welker is basically in every single cartoon we review on Back in Tunes, and somehow he found a way into trash cinema.
Don't get me wrong. It's not like we're not disliking you at all, Frank Welker. I mean, we just hate the movie that you starred in because it was a piece of shit, which was no fault of yours at all. You were only just the voice of this cute little dinosaur who wasn't even writable. What the hell was that? He didn't spit fire either. But then again, wait, no. I think only Yoshi spit fire if he swallowed a certain fire flower or a red-shelled villain. What I remember from the video game. That and Dennis Hopper as Koopa. It's like Koopa, he only showed up like as he really did in the games, like as this giant reptilian monster at the very end of the movie, right before he turned into this puddle of goo.
They should have left Koopa as like a mysterious villain, like the legends that tell about how everybody fears him, whatever. Then have him pop up at the end, not having some wisecracking. Well, Dennis Hopper, I like Dennis Hopper, but come on, man, no.
Yeah, plus in that kind of world, you know how like people were able to jump around? They had these like jumper rocket boots.
Yeah.
And they were fueled by bullet bills. That was pretty ridiculous and stupid.
The whole thing makes sense. Just go, if you're gonna do this, go full bore. Don't try to make it realistic.
Yeah.
I hate when they take something that's completely nonsensical and try to make it realistic. And you're just like, no, man, ride that crazy train where it's just bonkers,
Exactly, I know. Trying to make it realistic was kind of dumb. I mean, when they were like going into like coming from Brooklyn into the whole dinosaur world, they do go through a pipe, but they made it realistic, and that's how they got into the Mushroom Kingdom, was through green pipes. But this wasn't green. This wasn't colorful. It was just grungy and probably full of shit, which this movie was.
Do you know?
And then of course,
hold on.
I noticed all the like election posters of trying to vote for Koopa. I'm like, this seems like a total and complete dictatorship. Why even try to say, hey, let's vote for Koopa because he's the right choice? It's kind of like it's almost like today's politics, really, at least in China.
I want to go through this real quick. The first person offered. Now, here's the weird thing: is Roland Joffe was a director, but I guess he wasn't interested. He was more interested in producing, so he offered
Right.
it to Harold Ramis first.
Oh my God.
He was a huge Super Mario Brothers fan, but declined the offer. Then they went to Danny DeVito to star as Mario, but in the short, they would have had to find a really tiny Luigi. How would they have done? I mean, Luigi was a little bit taller, but come on. They offered him Mario, but they said they wanted him to direct as well. But he refused to sign because he was not allowed to read the script.
Oh my God, because he probably would have said no.
No, and then
I mean,
Arnold Schwarzenegger and Michael Keaton were both offered King Koopa.
oh, damn.
Here's the crazier thing: Tom Hanks accepted the role of Mario.
I'm sorry, I just can't. I can't get over Arnold Schwarzenegger being offered the role of Koopa.
Yeah,
Just
but dude,
surrounded by
they
this
had
fungus.
for a
Samuel.
moment. Yeah, for a moment they had Mario, but he was too expensive.
Tom Hanks? Wow.
Yeah, he almost ended. I was just crazy.
Oh my God. That's
But
hanging out around.
yeah. But here's the reason why Hanks, not only because he was too expensive, but they hired Bob Hoskins instead, who they believed to be a more profitable actor. How much was Tom Hanks making at the time, and Bob Hoskins was not making? I mean, Bob Hoskins had just come off of Roger Rabbit and Mermaids. Tom Hanks had just come off a couple of bombs. I don't get it.
Yeah, I yeah, I'm not sure either. I mean, this is of course early in Tom Hanks's career. And
Mm,
wait, didn't he just get Philadelphia?
he hadn't done Philadelphia yet. I don't think he had done Sleepless in Seattle yet. He had just bombed with Bonfire of the Vanities. What's the volcano movie again? Joe versus the volcano.
Over Volcano.
Yeah, didn't do that well. And he had probably just come off of A League of Their Own, which he is kind of sort of not the star. It's more of a Gina Davis thing. So I just can't imagine that he would have been like so expensive. They'd been like, nope.
Yeah, probably. But I mean, well, it's a good thing Tom Hanks didn't do that movie because it was such a miserable failure.
Yeah, Bob Hoskins has spoken about this, saying it's the worst thing that he has ever done. It's the worst experience. The whole experience was a nightmare. That's horrible that
Oh,
everybody remembers this movie and the man has passed on. Thankfully, he has Roger Rabbit as his legacy.
And not to mention Smee from Hook.
Oh, yes, of course.
I know, and he reprised his role of Smee in the miniseries of Neverland. Yeah, there was a miniseries. It was about like young Peter Pan and how he and Hook were friends. In England. Hook was like the ringleader. These were all just a bunch of neighborhood little thieves that would break into stores and steal money.
Yeah.
And Reese Ifans played Hook, and they all get they find the stone in the antique shop that transports them to Neverland. And then, of course, that's where they meet up with the pirate because Hook wasn't in charge of the pirates until later. It was a pretty cool origin story, and Bob Hoskins, of course, was Smee again.
Oh, dude, I have to say, I'm sorry. I'm listening, but I'm reading at the same time. I did not know this. The movie went $8 million over budget because the writer team, were married, and they would constantly get into arguments because they were both control freaks. And then they would go
Oh,
off on their own and film stuff, and they wouldn't match. The scenes wouldn't match because one person would go off and direct this scene, the other person would direct this scene, and they both had different visions on how it should be done, and they had to edit that together. Holy shit! How was that even
yeah.
possible? Who
I don't
produced this? Who put the money up and said, "No, we'll keep it like this," instead of firing them and getting someone who could get it to go? Oh my
know.
god!
Okay, so we should blame the. So we should. Okay, the producers are definitely a huge blame. Okay, so let me see.
Yeah, if you know something's going wrong, you fire them and bring in someone else who can finish the movie.
Right. I liked how they worked in the bomb. That worked pretty well. Yeah, produced by Fred Caruso, Jake Eberts, Roland Joffe, and Brad Weston
Yeah,
were the
it's
producers.
rough, man. The only thing, is this the one that had the? Yeah, it does. Is this the one that has the song "Boom Boom Shaka Laka Laka Boom 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 Shaka
Yeah,
Laka
it did
Boom Boom"?
the dinosaurs song, and it
Dude,
also
the
had a cover of
dinosaur.
a. It also had a cover. It also had a cover of "Love Is the Drug" by the Divinyls.
Ah, there were three dinosaurs. Everybody's dinosaur crazy during the summer of '93. We had Jurassic Park, of course, killing it. We had Super Mario Brothers, which died, And then we had Carnosaur, which is Roger Corman's version of Jurassic Park, which is
Oh, wow.
completely insane, which will come up in the next episode of Trash Cinema. There are
Right.
some batshit insane dinosaur movies out there, and most of them are kind of intentional, like they're like direct to video or like low budget fodder. But this was supposed to be the launch of a huge franchise.
Sorry.
Ah,
Sorry, I sneezed.
it surprised me. I was like, "What's going on?" It's
So yeah,
ridiculous.
it was, but I think it did miserable because I think a lot of fans were really pissed off at the whole source material
Yeah, it's
and what they tried to do. I
really.
mean, they weren't even
I was
there were no even clouds to float upon, and the way they worked in the mushrooms, kind of stupid. All it was just a shield. It didn't even turn them gigantic,
no.
and there were no fire flowers. They just had flamethrowers. That was the normal gun for the cops and all the villains to have. And oh gosh, what else can I bash upon this?
I went and saw this in the theater when I was 16, and back then my taste in movies wasn't very sophisticated. I just liked flashy stuff and lots of action. I remember walking out of this, looking at my best friend, going, "What did we just watch? Was that a Mario
Right.
Brothers movie?" That's the problem. If you watch something that's based on something like a certain material, pre-existing material, you should feel like, "Oh, well, that's what I'm into." I'm a fan of this, and therefore the adaptation of it is really close. If you have people confused as to whether or not it's a true adaptation, then you've screwed up bad.
True. Also, I mean, if it wasn't Super Mario Brothers, I think this movie would have been cool by itself.
Maybe, but
But
it's a little incoherent. But if it had been its own, it would have been watchable. It wouldn't have caused pain. But I don't think it would have been
yeah,
a great movie by any means.
it would have been an enjoyable film. It would have been a favorite. But calling it Super Mario Brothers, I guess the way they try to work some things in was pretty cool. But it's just not Mario Brothers.
All right, so our second movie is Double Dragon. The next year followed two fighting movies. This came out right before Street Fighter, I think about 3 weeks before Street Fighter, and it just set in that trend of crap. Now this one is insanely low budget. This is the kind of budget they give. What's his name that does all the shitty House of the Dead?
Uwe Boll.
Yui Boll. Yeah, it's the kind of the budget that he would have. It's only $7.8
Fuck you,
million, and it shows. This movie just reeks of low budget and cutting corners and no name actors.
I don't even know. Yeah, exactly. I don't even know how this movie was even in theaters. And as far as it goes, Mark Dacascos though.
Oh,
I think I remember something from something else though. I love him. He's a great action star.
Martin Koskos is, his father was a legendary teacher during the 60s and 70s. Mark came up through the direct-to-video ranks. He had done a couple movies, like he did Angel Town with Olivia Gruner. He did American Samurai with one of those martial arts, because I can't remember his name all of a sudden. I feel embarrassed.
He also did a Jet Li movie called Cradle to the Grave, and he played Kung Lao in Mortal Kombat Legacy.
Yeah, I was kind of building up to that. Sorry.
Oh.
So he did that, and then his breakout role was in Only the Strong. It's that martial arts movie with the capoeira, the fighting dance kind of thing.
Yes.
That movie bombed, even though I know a lot of people love it. I think it found its way on like cable and video. And then the next year he did Double Dragon, and he kept doing these things that you expected to be hits, and it just never happened. His success for the mainstream never happened. The greatest American martial arts movie ever made, I think, in my opinion, he started. It's called Drive, and it went straight to HBO, and it's truly one of the most astonishing pieces of work. Like, the design of fight sequences are amazing, and it went nowhere. He did a movie based on a manga called Crying Freeman. Have you ever heard of that one?
No.
Crying
Is it
Freeman.
something like Grappler Baki?
What's that?
Is it something like Grappler Baki?
I don't know what that is.
Oh, it's like this kind of Muay Thai fighter named Baki who goes through all these really intense fighting tournaments and still wins even after some brutal shit.
No. Crying Freeman, he's like an assassin. He rarely ever speaks, and he has all these tattoos on his body, whatever. It's been a while since I've seen it.
Oh,
But,
cool.
He's supposed to kill this girl, and he falls in love with her, and then he has to go up against a rival clan. It's a really beautiful. It's not an intense movie. Like a lot of these martial arts movies during the 90s were more about intensity. This was more about beauty and violence combined, and it was never released in America. It was a huge hit overseas, especially in France. It was a massive hit, And somehow, after 20 years, it's 20 years old this year, it's never been on video.
Damn.
And I don't know why. It's from the director of Brotherhood of the Wolf and Silent Hill. And
Right.
every time he has a movie comes out, Christoph Gans, you think it's going to come out finally released, and no, it still has never been released, and it stuns me. But
You know,
yeah, go ahead.
oh, sorry, no, you finish.
But yeah, back to the point. Double Dragon is another one of those a long line of could have been, should have been, and it doesn't happen for him.
I was hugely disappointed. I was a huge Double Dragon fan growing up. I had it on Nintendo. That's where I first learned of it. Plus, they're both the Lee brothers, but I mean, one's white and the other's Asian. I'm like, was the mother white at least? I mean, do we even know that? No, we just know that their father was Chinese.
Yeah, it's a little
And
confusing about that. Well, it was one of them adopted. I don't really know what's going on here.
yeah, no, they're twin brothers. That's the thing.
Whoa, no. They're not twins. Really?
No, in the original lore, they're twin brothers,
Oh,
Billy and
they
Jimmy
changed
Lee.
it for the movie?
Yeah, they changed it for the movie because in the original game didn't even have anything to do with any mysticism or medallion. It was about these guys beating up these street gangs
Yeah, I don't
trying to
remember
save
there
their
being
trying to
any
save
sort of
Billy's
like
girlfriend.
mythos or supernatural kind of elements to it, but yeah, the movie definitely switches the focus.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, it's cool that they introduced like some of the whole gang aspect, the different gangs, and then there's one gang that they do cooperate with, Power Core. Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. And it's the movie's like set in like post-apocalyptic, kind of big earthquake that never happened in 2007 or before that. But yeah,
The post-apocalyptic qualities of it are a little strange. It's hard to do on a low budget. 7.8 million is how much this cost, and it made 2.3 million. So obviously, things did not go
It lost.
well.
Yeah, of course not. I think they even took it off. It was on Netflix for a while, and they took it off because it must have been that bad.
Yeah, I found it on YouTube.
Yeah, me
so
too.
here's the thing: is the company that made it is Imperial, and they only ever had one other hit movie. It was Nemesis, which $2.5 million for $1 million movie doesn't really count as a hit. They're a very strange company because they released a lot of their own stuff, which either got barely released or direct to video. But then they licensed out maybe 4 movies to Universal Studios and Gramercy. Gramercy was an offshoot of Universal Studios. Mostly they were known for doing Mallrats. And
Oh, that's a
they
classic.
they shut down after like a couple years. They never had a single hit movie. And
Yeah. Also,
Imperial was known for doing. They signed Van Damme really early on in his career, but he kept finding ways out of it, like delaying it, and then he finally had to pay off his dues by doing that crappy Sudden Death, the Die Hard in the hockey rink movie.
yeah.
But this is another one of those where they made and they pawned it off.
Right. And as far as like the rest of casting goes, like Robert Patrick, the T-1000, best known as the T-1000. Yeah, I mean him being the main villain,
Yeah.
Shuko. I was like, wait a minute, no, he's supposed to be Shadow Boss. He's supposed to be the one. Yeah, he has control of all the gangs, but the way they try to incorporate him is just kind of lame.
I liked him himself. I thought he was quite enjoyable. He was pretty lively for the movie. I think the lot thing about the video game movies is that they usually have a very dark tone. Like they're so self-serious that it's laughable. This one at least kind of has a sense of humor, a lightness to it, and despite the fact that they're in a post-apocalyptic world.
Robert Patrick did have a lively performance. I'll give him that. He was pretty cool.
Yeah, he dyed his
And then-
hair shock blonde.
Yeah, we have to go with the whole LA look.
Oh, doesn't
And then
Alyssa
there's
Milano dye her hair too?
Huh?
Didn't Alyssa Milano dye her hair? Or no, she just cut it off, right?
Yeah, she did. Yeah, she did. She cut off her hair and she dyed it that blonde. Yeah, she's naturally a brunette. I know. Honestly, she still looks the same.
Yeah.
She does not not age. She could still play that role if she could.
I thought
Which I hope
there's
she
one,
never does.
There's
'cause that
one
movie-
section of the movie that drives me nuts because it's so punny, but at the same time, one of the few people that get it is towards the end of the movie, she's fighting this blonde lady, the villain, and she goes, "Who's the boss now?" And she goes, "Generally, I put people in the hospital." And I was like, "Wait, did you guys just make a General Hospital joke?" The reason is the villain, Christina Wagner, she's Jack Wagner's wife. They were both on General Hospital together. So Alyssa Milano says, "Generally, I put people in the hospital." I remember laughing at that. I was like, "That's a terrible pun, but it's funny."
That was a General Hospital pun.
Yeah, and
I'm
then
sure.
of course the "Who's the Boss" pun.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. Of course. I guess they were like kind of stabbing back and forth. They were like working off. They were like working off that to get that chemistry right for that scene.
Yeah, did
Plus,
Scott Wolf even know martial arts? Because I felt like every action sequence was a lot of doubles and stand-ins and just bad movements.
yeah, I honestly don't think he did. I mean, really, Mark Dacascos was doing all his, and he was also, Mark Dacascos was also like a host of Iron Chef USA.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. He's been on Hawaii Five O for a while too.
Yeah.
I have to say that's
Oh
a
yeah,
really
he was.
solid dude. He sent me his autograph about 10 years ago. I still have it.
Oh sweet.
He's like one of those nice martial artists. A lot of them like they kind of get into their whole macho thing, whatever their ego freaks, like the way Steven Seagal is. And I always liked him
Oh
because
yeah.
he always seemed like a really generally nice guy. And it was before like Facebook and MySpace and everything like that. And I was on his fan page and I wrote him a letter saying how much I enjoyed a couple of his movies and he sent me his autograph. It's do you ever know there was a Crow TV show? The movie The Crow.
A Crow. Yes. Yeah, I think there was. Yeah, a brief Crow TV show, and I think he starred in as the Crow.
Yeah, he did. He was on it for one season, but he said the whole show was a nightmare because The Crow is a very dark subject, and it was supposed to be a mature, sophisticated show, something like between primetime television and like HBO. But
Oh yeah.
after the first 6 episodes, they were told by a lot of the networks. See, it was a syndicated TV show. And so sometimes it would air when it was supposed to air, like 10 o'clock on Saturdays or whatever, at night.
But it didn't.
No, and then some stations would air it like right after cartoons. So you got like 6-year-olds watching this show where people are dying and coming back to life. It's like, the Crow was a really dark subject. And he said they decided to cancel the show because they just couldn't water it down enough, you know.
No, you can't water that down at all. If you're gonna get something like that, you want to get it on a mature network.
Yeah, but
So yeah, that's
he
pretty much on
sent me a photograph with him in the Crow pose in front of the window. It's cool.
Yeah, that is pretty awesome. I mean, I love the Crow. I love the first Crow. The first Crow was great. And then knowing about that TV show, I mean, I'm sure, like, was it a critical hit at least?
I think it was just kind of a cult hit. It just never found its ground because it had to water down so much stuff that it became kind of bland. And especially they
Right.
just said, you know what, let's just stop. But there's like 3 or 4 times there where he was supposed. Another thing, Double Dragon was supposed to be a hit. Drive was supposed to be a hit. Crying Freeman was supposed to be a hit. And even after Brotherhood of the Wolf came out, and everybody was talking about it and it did well, he only ever did that Jet Li movie. He never really did anything else that.
Trail to the Grave, yeah.
Yeah, and that was the worst of the. You know how Jet Li did like 3 or 4 movies right in a row? They're like, oh, it's a mid-budget.
That was like one of the worst of his movies.
Yeah, that was the worst. That was a terrible movie, except for the final
I-
action sequence.
DMX is just a terrible actor. That's why he doesn't do movies anymore. He could not drive the audience. It was all just hype, just because he's in it. A lot of people are going to see it just because of that. He was pretty much a cash cow.
Yeah,
And of course, people love Jet Li too. So but still, Jet Li, he backed up his performance and his actions. He knows what to do.
Yeah.
And Mark Dacascos was a great villain, but still.
Yeah. Well, he's also
It was-
it's
I was
hard
like-
to accept him as a villain though, because he is so nice. I mean, he can throw you off, but he's just a generally pleasant guy. So
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, I was looking at the age of Mark Dacascos and Scott Wolf, and they're supposed to be playing teenagers. I kid you not. Mark was 29, and Scott Wolf was 27.
Yeah, no, I think it was before Scott Wolf. I think was in Party of Five. He was Jessica Biel's boyfriend, the model.
No, wait, what show?
I think he was. I thought he was in Party of Five. He was.
Yeah. He's the main character in Party of Five. I don't remember Jessica Biel being on there at all. I know she was in Seventh Heaven.
Seventh Heaven. Oh yeah, that's Seventh Heaven. That's right. No, whose boyfriend was he?
I don't remember. I never watched Party of Five. There was Nev Campbell, what's the guy's name?
Matt Fox.
Matt Fox, and then I don't remember.
Lacey Chabert.
Jennifer Love Hewitt. I have to thank someone else for telling me that. Jennifer Love Hewitt was Scott Wolf's girlfriend on that show.
Right, and of course Lacey Chabert was in that as well.
Yeah, that's funny. That show really had a lot of people come from that.
Yes, it did.
All right,
But
I
as
think
for-
we're kind
yeah.
of. I think we're kind of wandering here. With Double Dragon,
We
the
are.
one thing that I'll say that always bugged me was a Bobo. That is the single. Every bad movie has a
supposed-
moment where it goes to ground zero, and you're like, "Fuck, what?" That is that moment where you see a Bobo come out in this fake paper mache. I don't know what it was, but it looked bad and looked cheap. And
He looked like I mean, he's supposed to be gigantic, yes, but
not
that's
like a peanut.
just,
It's like he had a peanut allergy, and he just started swelling up. You're like, it's gross.
he did. He looked absolutely horrible. I don't know what the people were thinking on designing him like that, but I liked how they tried to incorporate the whole gangs, like the diverse gang, um, the whole diverse gang spectrum, where each had their own look,
Yeah, yeah.
and like you had all these clowns here, kind of like the diversity that you'd see in the Warriors,
Oh
something
yeah,
like that.
it's funny. I just watched The Warriors. There is a bare bones good idea for a different movie, but it's not Double Dragon. That's not a Double Dragon movie. Just like Mario Brothers, it feels like someone just took an old script and slapped in. Oh well, this part will write this character and this character. It's just it's a
Let's add
half-baked
some
movie,
mysticism.
and the budget is way too tiny for it.
Oh yeah, I know. I mean, if they were to bring it back, please let it be about like this hardcore gang kind of, not exactly like gang ridden kind of setting.
Yeah, well,
Kind of like
there's a movie right now called Kung Fury. It's like a
that's
half-hour
exactly what I was
movie.
just about to mention.
Oh, did you
Something
watch
like
it?
Kung Fury.
Yeah,
It should look like Kung Fury.
yeah. It
I have
should
not
look like
watched
Kung
it yet,
Fury,
but I've yet
definitely.
to.
Give those
I mean,
those
it's got
guys
that whole
10 million to go do it again.
Exactly. I mean, plus the recent video game that they made of Double Dragon. I mean, it just was pretty much this huge homage to the '80s. Like if you look at the visuals of it, it's all neon. It's called Double Dragon Neon.
Oh, I
It's
gotta
just
play
like so
this.
bright. Oh, I know. It's great. It's great. I think it's great to look at. They should have that kind of setting, that kind of look. I would love to watch that. But as far as casting goes, you need to cast actual twins.
Well,
I mean,
like,
you can't really exactly place one person and then have it like double screened like Armie Hammer and Social Network or Lindsay Lohan and Parent Trap.
Okay, yeah, that I can see because I would say you're not gonna find a whole lot of twins out there that are great actors. Maybe
Just
maybe
like
20
with
years ago you could have had Jeremy and Jason London. They're not that great. They're okay, but I mean,
But come on, please let them be Asian too. No more whitewashing.
All right, so I think that's it for Trash Cinema here. Next week we'll probably torture ourselves with a couple other dinosaur movies. And check us out on Facebook under Retro Rocket Entertainment. You'll find all the episodes of Trash Cinema, Back of Tunes, and all of our other shows that have. We have a lot of fun just reviewing things and discussing them.
Right, and as far as the whole like twin perspective, it's kind of like what they did with Judge Dredd with Sylvester Stallone and Armand Asante.
Oh yeah, they kind of look like twins, but not really. It's good.
We should do that. We should do Judge Dredd for Trash Cinema.
Yeah. Oh boy, have I seen that movie too many times. All right, Jacob, you all good?
Yes, I'm good. I think we've vented and talked about how shitty those movies are, and that we do not recommend either of them.
No,
I'm sorry.
Usually we recommend at least one. No, both of these, nope.
Just it's complete piles of shit. You should if you dig into the deepest part of your ass, that's what you'll find. Those two movies.
It's like a cinematic colonic.
Pretty
All right,
much.
man, I think we've grossed everybody out. No, we should probably go. All right,
Yeah.
Good night.
Good night.